Okay, in this video we'll be looking at loops, which is the hardest and also the final topic of our programming unit. And so let's get started. So loops, there's a few of them. There's this repeat loop. In programming we would call that like a for loop, so FOR, for loop. But we're only going to be looking at this repeat until, which is the simpler of the loops, I think. And in programming, we would call this a while loop. So a while loop, just like an if statement, takes a condition, right? So a condition goes right there, and the condition will pretty much specify how many times we loop. But a loop itself, what it does is anything you put in it, so anything you put here, where the mouse is right now, will execute as many times as it takes for this condition, where the thumb is, to be considered false. So let's see an example, and then hopefully that will make a little bit more sense. The way I'll show you this is I'll show it using this change size by 10. Change size by 10 will increase his size, right? So every time I click it, you see his size increases. And I'll throw that in here, and I'll throw it up here. Okay, so right now I have no condition in here, but let's see what happens when I press the green button. Okay, so he keeps getting bigger. And I'm guessing this is the maximum limit because realistically, he should keep getting bigger and bigger forever because I have no condition. Okay, but let's throw a condition in there to see how the stopping criteria would work. So here, I'll go back to operators because this is my logical operators. And the operator that I will use is, for example, this equal sign. So I have this logical operator right here. And instead of using 50, I'm just going to use the number 1. And on the left side, I'm going to put 0. So let's look at this kind of statement right here. This statement right here says that 0 is the same thing as 1. Now, I don't know if you know this, but 0 and 1 are two different things. This logical statement is false. Only 1 is the same thing as 1. So I could say 1 is equal to 1. Sure, that is true. So this whole thing is true. But if I say 0 is 1, this whole thing is false. So if I was to put this condition, 0 equals 1, in here, then this loop or anything inside of it, which is change size by 10, that will continue executing up until this condition is true. Right now that condition is not true, so it's false, and 0 will never be 1, so really this loop will run infinitely many times. So if I plug it in there and I hit go, again, it keeps running until 0 is eventually equal to 1. But, you know, in real life, 0 is never equal to 1, so it's an infinite loop. If I was to put in 1 is equal to 1, this statement now is true. So it will run this loop until 1 is equal to 1. So let's see what happens. If I press go, nothing happens. I'm spamming go, nothing's happening. Why? Well, 1 is already equal to 1, so I don't need to go inside of this loop. So the program just is skipping to the end. Well, it wants to skip right here, but there's nothing there. So there's nothing to run. Okay, so we know how to make an infinite loop. We know how to make a loop never run. So how do we make this run like 5 times? And yeah, I could use this repeat 5, and I could throw this number in here, and this will repeat it 5 times, repeat it 5 times, repeat it 5 times. But that's boring, too easy. We want to do it more complicated. So to do this, what we will make is a new variable, and we will call it counter. So counter is kind of like one of these things. Pretty much we want to set up a variable that will work like every time we run through a loop. So every time we increase the size, we want to click the button that will then increase this number. We have a variable called counter. And every time we change size, we want to increase the counter by 1. So that is what this is. We say change counter by 1. And now what do we want our condition to be? Well, we want to run this 5 times. So we'll say that we will repeat until our counter is equal to 5. Okay, so we will repeat until counter is 5, and it will change the size by 10. And then when we do that, we will then also increase our counter by 1. This right here just increases our counter by 1. And at the beginning of our program, our counter is 0. So if I run this, if I put it up here, and I run this now, there it goes. But if I was to run this again, nothing would happen because every time I click this, it doesn't reset our counter. We want to reset our counter. So I just have to do one of these. So when I click it, I will first set the counter to be 0, and then I want it to do all of those things. Just like before, there you kind of have it. Okay, so hopefully this kind of helps you, and this should be enough to get you through the last set of questions.